Hi friends, how are you doing today? Today's topic is all about date time. Yes, let me little bit scribble through and want to explain you a few things first. Date time is massively a point of conflict among different cultures, among different nation. It's a point of conflict. Why? Because that this is represented differently in different countries. For example, in India, the date, as you can see, my computer date goes like this: 08, 03, and 2023. Now, for United States, for people in United States, they will think this as August the 3rd, 2023, right? So that's the conflict, right? And due to this conflict, there can be problem in taking date, in saving date, in converting date. So that's really a deal, very big deal. So in today's session, I'm going to talk about two things. One, if you okay, let me little bit increase the font size. Number one will be, if you already have an object with a date time object. I mean, if you already have a date time object, how can you convert it into your regional meaningful date time format? So that means number one is, if you have if you have a date time object, how do you convert into a regional date string? All right, so that means you already have a date object. And now how do you get this? Let's say you call an API or call a function which returns the date in datetime object, okay, a C# datetime object, a .NET datetime object. And now that you want to display that on your UI, and you need to be displaying that right in your regional format or any kind of format that you like to display. So that will call for converting or squeezing out a local formatting for the given datetime object. That is number one. And number two will just be the opposite one. Let's say there's an UI and user has to enter date in some format, right? And you need to convert it back to an object. Now there are a lot of reasons doing that. That means you have your date time information on your UI, and what you want to do, we want to convert it into date time object. All right, now why do we really need that? We may need that once again because certain functions will accept a parameter not as a local string, which can definitely vary from place to place. It would definitely want to accept date in its native object format. So this is something like an abstracted view. It's an object. So we have got good reason for doing that, because ultimately if you have the date in object format, we can store that, we can transfer it in network, we can do a lot of things definitely, right? So without wasting any further time, let me start Visual Studio and start showing both of these one by one. So let me start Visual Studio, create a new project. Well, I'm going to create console application project, click next. I'm going to create date time format demo. Go and click next. I'm going to be using this .NET 7, and yes, I'll check this. Do not use top level statements for now. That is, I like to use public static void main for those who are learning .NET in the previous frameworks and all. So that's fine. Now what I'm going to do first, the first thing, if you have a datetime object, how do you convert it into a regional datetime string? So I'll copy this requirement and paste it here. All right, so that's my requirement. I will not forget to stop my console.read a key, otherwise the console will go every time it shows up an output. So this is just like a halter. We require that if you don't want the output to vanish once after displaying that. Alright, so that's something I save here. Alright, so now you have a datetime object. How do you convert it into a regional datetime string? So for that, let me quickly have a function exactly returning a datetime object. So we can just mimic it. I just want to have it a static datetime get some date. Brilliant. All right. So yes, Visual Studio's IntelliSense suggested me, why not you return the current date time? So that's fine. So that means we are calling this function. You can think this is just an API or something that you have called to get some date time. So now I am going to be calling this. So for doing that, I'll just write datetime dt equals to, well, I'll just call it, I'll call it get date, get some date. All right. So that means the information, you receive the information, the date information, right within this dt variable. And now the story starts. Now we want to first, if you just print it right away, what it prints. If I just print it right away, I want to see what exactly it prints. If you run this, now I am in India, definitely my system formatting will be chosen. You see, it automatically chooses 08, which is 8th day of March 2023, 23:36:18. Right, that's the date time as obvious time of recording. All right, now if we don't specify any formatting, it automatically chooses your current computer's system formatting or the locale. Now however, if you want to specify something very specific, maybe if you want to format that in, let's say, in a much universal looking date time format, I prefer, okay, for that you need toString method. Okay, that's the key for formatting a data object into a regional datetime string. Now I will start writing some characters. If I type small dd, remember the small dd will mean 2-digit date. Okay, if I specify ddd, that will be the day of the week. That's not the thing. So having 3 DDDs will mean which day of the week you are in the abbreviated format. I'll definitely recommend you that you please go through all those online manuals of what exactly they are. So if I just write small dd, it just means 2-digit day of month. Then I give a hyphen. I'll write m. If I just write 1m, it just tells me the month, that means 1 for January, 2 for February, like that. But I prefer writing mm because it's a 2-digit month. It says like 01 for January, 02 for February, 03 for March, right? So I prefer mm. However, if you want to have mmm, that means it will now write the name of the month. So instead of March, it will write MAR for March. Instead of 01, it will write Jan, Jan, Jan. I'm going to be showing you quite a few. First of all, let's start with MM, and then we have got Y. If you type Y 4 times, you will get the full 4-digit year format. If you want to stick to just 2 digit, you can write it. But remember, do not please type it in capital YY, because this is very specific of the capitalization scheme. If you write capital YY, just nothing will be sensed at all, right? So let me write YYYY and then have a run. Let me show you how it runs. Well, this is just the format that is currently in my system. Is 0803. See, 08 is 2 digit day, 03 is 2 digit month, and 2023 because I have written 4 digit. Let me create a copy of it. I just hit Control D to create a copy of a statement down below, and then I write 2 digit YY. Now you will just see the second one is 23, right? Let me give a couple of formats which will help you to understand stuff. Let me have MMM. If I write MMM and if you run it, look at the third formatting. It writes MAR for March 23. If you prefer to have the whole one, then please type YYYY. It will then write the 4 digit year 2023. Brilliant, isn't it? And in addition to that, if you also want to show the time part, by the way, this is my favorite. I love this because everybody in India, in US, in Saudi Arabia, wherever, this date time format can easily be understood by anybody, right? Well, let me swipe those locations. Let me have this MMM in the beginning and then DD in the middle. Now, this kind of date will definitely be preferred by people from United States. Okay, so they will really prefer date like this. So March 08 2023. That is what I mean by converting into regional date string. All good. Now what about the time? Well, for time we have to write HH. Remember, small hh means the hour, whereas capital HH is a 24 hours clock. So if you want to stay in 12 hours clock, you should write small hh. And then mm. See, small mm will mean minutes. However, capital mm and all, they will mean the month. Right? So do not do any typo. You have to write exactly the way it is. And then ss will mean the seconds. And then tt will mean am or pm. Alright? If you just write 1h, that is fine. So that means it will not be formatted up to 2 digit place. So let's say if it is 3 p.m., it will just write 3:00:00 p.m. instead of having 03, right? I hope that you're getting the point. And now if I run this, you will see the whole thing. It is March 08 2023 11:42:14 p.m. right? Also good. So that was it. You can use those DD, MM and YY to extract the format that you want to show to your user at some regional level. We are done with step number 1. I mean the first synopsis, the first thing. Now let's start the next thing. You have your date time information on your UI, let's say. Sorry. And we want to convert it into date time object. This is just the opposite one. So I'm going to be copying this, okay, commenting this, I'm sorry. And then I just want to make this commented. To comment string, you can just use control, just bring like this, control shift / will make a multi-line comment. Okay. Now the second thing here, you have got your date time information on your UI. That means you have the information as a string, and now you want to convert it into date time object. This is really something really tricky. Okay, how do you do that? Let's have a sample date time string. Let's call it str. Let me have a sample date time string. Let me have it in this format like 04 and 07 and 2023. Okay, we can also introduce the hour, minute and second. Let's say we have like 1644. That's it. Now we want to extract the date object from it. Maybe you want to extract the date object from it because you want to store that in some file, or maybe you want to transfer that information to another function. Whatever can be the need, is just like parsing this string and converting into date time. So it is same as, so now I would like to parse this string and convert it into a date time object. So just the opposite one. All right. So how do you do that? Well, now if you just write date time, let me start writing a date time because I need to be creating a date time object from it. So let me write a date time dt. Okay. Usually you might write datetime dot parse and then this. Remember, we have got int dot parse, double dot parse. By the same token, we can have datetime dot parse. But this might fail miserably if your computer formatting doesn't match with this. Right? This might fail, or this might be inferred wrongly. All right. So, well, after converting this, I'd just like to print what month I have, what day I have, what year I have. I just want to print it, just want to make sure that the system really understood my date string really very well. So I'll write it down like the month is, I can just extract the month from it. All right, this will just give the month in number. Similarly, I'll have the year, month, and the day. Okay, the actual day, and I'll just write date time dot day, right, integer, which can be like 1 2 up to 28 for February, and that's the way, right? And the year, let me have this as year. And similarly, control D, control D, control D, we have this for hour, minute, and second, right? So I just like to have hour, minute, and second. All good. So what do you expect? What should I be seeing this? It's 04. So it depends on how you interpret this. It's 04 in India, and in my system we will interpret this as April. April the 7th. Okay. I'm sorry, the fourth day of, I'm really sorry, is how Americans actually understand this. But for almost like in UK, in India, for many places of the world, they'll treat the first two digits as the day part and the second two digits as the month part. So for India, we will treat this as fourth day of July 2023. That's how we will treat this, fourth day of July 2023, right? And you understand, of course we understand what is this. This is like 4 p.m, right? This is 4 p.m, 44 minutes past 4 p.m. All right, so now if that is the case, we should be able to understand this exactly the way we want. Month 7, which is good, day 4, which is good, year 2023 is definitely good, and these are really good. The problem is, since in my system, since I'm having the system set to Indian system, so it really understood the thing in nice and simple way. But let's say if this program is being run on a system which abides by the American time system, in that case this will miserably fail, or it will interpret it differently. It will not miserably fail, instead it will interpret it completely differently, right? In that case, you can, instead of using the usual parse method, you can use a try parse, and you need to tell the system in exactly which format you are treating this date to be. you need to be providing that format. So the format try parse. Okay, first try the try parse, then provide the data, the string which you captured from some UI, and then provide exactly which kind of format you are using. So this is like, okay, if I am from India, I'll write mm being, mm is the month, right? mm, and then, am I doing a mistake? Just one, wait a second please. DateTime.try parse, yes. There are a couple of DateTime.try parse, yep. There are a couple of formatting. So I'm going to be using you can see there are a lot of formatting for format providers. So I'm going to be using the first of all, let me continue this. Of course, for some reason it is not showing up, so let me write dd because we want to treat this as date first, and second mm, and the last one will be yyyy. All right, and then we want to show that in HH. HH is the 24 hours system clock, and then HHMM. MM is the minute part, all right? And you still need to provide one important thing, which is culture info dot invariant culture. It is not sensing because I need to bring up the proper namespace, system globalization, and then culture info dot invariant culture, and that's it. You just need to type this. DateTime.try parse. Let me see if I've done some mistake. Yeah, this is good. Try parse is all good. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It has to be parse exact. I'm so sorry. Parse exact. I kind of forgot that. I'm sorry for that. It has to be parse exact, right? So parse exact, and now if you really provide, you'll see that it is sensing like mm. Yeah, I was thinking, why is it not sensing? So my mistake should teach you as well. It's not datetime.try parse, it's datetime.parseExact. It's good that I've done this mistake while recording. I even didn't pause the video. So I just wanted to show you is parse exact, not try parse, right? So parse exact, and then you provide the exact way in which you are treating this string. Okay, so that means it depends on you. Let's say somebody from United States would like to treat the first two characters as month, so you can write month like this, the second two characters as day, so you can write this, and y being the year part, and then HH and M. Let's say if you somebody wants to write date in this format, that is fine. Then you need to be saying, okay, you please treat the date and year like this. So you can use this parse exact to parse your date time string in exactly the way you want to convert it. So it then gets converted into this DT, and finally you can say this. Well, now if I run this, since I'm using the US formatting almost, okay, so it's a mix of US and UK. It's up to you how you want to. Like UK guys, they use 24 hours clock, and people from United States will use the month first, day second, and year second, third, right? So we can use any kind of mix and match that suits your requirement. Let me run it and show you. It exactly shows the way it is. So 4, that means it's definitely 4 because the month is 4, right? The day is 7, which is good, and the year is 2023, and these are definitely the stuff for the hour, minute, and second. If I change it to this guy, it will then start formatting in British system, but it failed. Why? 1644 was not recognized as a valid date time. So wait a second, why it has failed? uh, if that format do not match, it will really fail. Oh well, it has failed because you see I have got forward slashes and here I'm using dashes. So that also teaches you one good thing, that you have to be mentioning exactly the format you want. If there is any mismatch, it will fail, which is good thing. So that means you can really understand the user did not provide the date in the correct format, right? You can stop submission of the date further, so you can stop further progression of the date to maybe you will stop calling the function or something, you will stop the user. So it is good. So if you can put this into try catch, if something fails, you know that the date wasn't in the right format, the user didn't specify the date in the format needed. So for this guy to be in this format, it has to be hyphen, it has to be hyphened like this, right? So the user didn't provide the date in the right format. If I run it, it will work with a charm, like a charm. See, it works. So now the month is definitely 7 because I want to treat this as day, month, and year. I hope that it has solved a lot of your questions, problems. If you've got any questions and problems, let me know. Let me comment below. So that's how you can convert a given string into date. That is very easy. If you have a datetime object, you can convert into regional datetime string, and if you have a string, you can convert it into datetime object. Thank you very much. And in case if you need tutoring, an online tutoring from me, don't hesitate to give me a call, or maybe you can just leave a WhatsApp message. Thank you so much, and hope to see you very soon in your next lesson. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't so far.